Hi, I'm
Hey,
Michelle,
I'm Atu.
and together we run a web design company in Cape Town.
Yeah, cool, jackfruit.
Yeah.
Yeah, got to say.
And this is sort of our home to connect with other entrepreneurs
Eagle.
and kind of document our journey, sort of. Yeah,
Yeah. We got our next guest coming up now.
Yeah.
He's pulling up on us. Steve's down to pick him up. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so you may have heard of companies like Sweep South or Patagonia, which are companies that are impact focused more than profit focused. And that's just what our guest is today. His name is Arthur Mexico. We are going to ask him about his name. Yeah. And he runs a social enterprise that's very much impact focused. And we're excited to interview him today because that's we resonate so much with that.
Yeah.
We also try to be more impact focused than profit focused. So yeah, we've got a lot to learn from him today, and we're very excited.
Yeah. It's also a different type of business. One that's not solely focused on profit. So it's going to be an interesting chat.
Yeah, you just repeated the same thing. Impact focused, not
It is what it is.
anyway.
Yeah, happiness. It's
We're
seems
excited. See you soon.
Right. Now we have a face to the name. This is Arthur Mexico. Actually, what's it's a
Yeah,
very
tell us
interesting
about
name.
that.
It's a very
You know, we were sitting, we were like, Mexico.
clicks.
It's a very interesting one, but I wouldn't want to spoil the fun for you guys and everyone watching at home. So let me get them to the last. If you get to the last 5 minutes of this interview,
Okay, then you
I'll
let us
tell the
know.
full story. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll take it. We'll
Yeah.
take it. Okay, so now Arthur's decided he's gonna make burgers.
Yes.
Avo and bacon.
Yeah.
Yeah, ever and bacon, beef, homemade burger.
Yes.
Yeah, that's like my go-to lazy meal. I'm really such a simple guy when it comes to food,
Yeah.
and that's like comfort food. And
Yeah.
if you think, even growing up as a kid, like so many memories.
Okay.
Your parents coming with like a burger and fries, and
Yeah.
I was going crazy. So
Yeah.
yeah, I guess that's why it's like my comfort food.
Okay,
It reminds me of
nice.
home, relaxing.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice.
Welcome to our
Yeah.
home.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, let's get into the cooking and see what
Yes.
Okay, so I'm still shocked by that burger. I really
That
enjoyed
was
it.
way better than I imagined.
Yeah, even me, I was.
I get so nervous when I was asked to introduce a dish, right?
Yeah.
And I started overthinking. I was like, "Is this gonna be good enough for the show?" Also, I've seen the dishes that have been made
Yeah.
in the past, and they were very interesting. So I thought maybe let's take it to basics.
It was
Can't go
really
wrong.
nice.
And I can't recall what was the score that you guys gave.
9.
Okay, just making sure.
We got a 9.5 from Atu and a 9.
Just making sure.
Yeah, boast a little less.
Yeah. But it was good. It was good.
Okay. Yeah, so earlier we were speaking about you running a social enterprise which
Yes.
focuses more on impact rather than profit. But just for people who this may be their first time hearing about this or they don't know what that is, could you explain what the difference would be from if Access Network Africa was an NGO or if it was purely for profit, like maybe like it would be like set up like Curo or something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the difference
Very-
between the
very
three?
good question.
Yeah.
Very good question. So the overarching differences is basically based on once. Okay, so essentially, an NGO cannot operate from a place of profit, right? So when you get funding or when a project is financed under your NGO, everything that you stipulated within the budget and the reasoning for the funding has to go to those items that you put down, right? So it is very, very particular in terms of everything that's used, by everything that that NGO will use with the money that is donated or invested to the NGO. And it is also a very strict process when it comes to accounting for where all that money has gone to, right? And as we know, when you're dealing with your NGO and have any projects under your NGO, there can be no scenario like a private company where if you happen to have some change left over, you know, that is sort of seen as profit and can be maybe shared by the directors or the executive, you know, team, right? That all has to go to what it was stipulated there. So the overarching, I just remembered the word I was looking for, compliance. Compliance, right?
Okay.
So the overarching differentiating factor is compliance, right? So some companies and most companies, because of the rebates and the claiming back that they have to do in SARS, they will request a NGO or a PBO even before they finance a project. So PBO is a public beneficial organization. It's under section dilibele ngoku number, but that is
But it's
basically
fine.
it's under some section, but that's basically where your investments that you've put in that particular business or the funds that you've invested for that particular project, you can then fully now be compliant with SARS as it having had gone to an social
Oh, I see.
responsibility
Okay.
initiative or a CSI initiative. And then when it comes to then your private business, you are able to also operate with your private business by receiving your sponsors or for a company basically hiring you to be an implementation partner for whatever CSI project, for example, they'd like to do in-house. And you would then be contracted because of your expertise and skills to carry out that project. And then nowadays in social impact, what we see is there's sort of this hybrid approach. What's happening in Curo, very interesting enough, that you mentioned as well, you know. And you've got organizations like Tsiba as well that operate from that type of entity, where you're able to do all your for-profit work, whether it's just consulting or handling a certain part of the project, which you can do under the private company, and the majority of the work you can carry out then under your NGO.
Yeah. Kiro just recently, I think Capitec
Yeah.
made it a non-profit now, or they're seeking
They're in
to,
that process,
to do
100%.
that. Yeah. So in terms of for your thing, it's impact focused. I'm just thinking, how easy is it to balance impact and wanting to make profit?
Okay, so it's not that easy. You know, the reality on the ground for many small businesses right now, especially in the last, I don't know, maybe 3 years since COVID-19, is that a lot of us are just making it, you know, are just breaking even, right? So when it comes to conversations of profit, it's quite a tricky one
Yeah.
because a lot of us are just trying to survive.
Yeah.
But personally, and you know how I sort of run, you know, my company, so where NGOs are going now, also by the way, that I've missed, which is very important. NGOs are going the route of a heavy focus on sustainability, right?
Yes,
So we
yeah.
come from like an area where there were so many NGOs doing different stuff, different projects, but there's so much pressure now in the South African economy and in the landscape of where we are in terms of the social ills that we were trying to address
Yeah.
all those years. And there are honestly very valid questions that are being raised, you know. We are not seeing enough the impact of all combined efforts, NGOs, governments, in our community. So what a lot of funders and donors are saying now is that even in your NGO, do not be
yeah.
reliant on donations and
Yeah.
funding. Show the for-profit aspect of your business. Have a aspect of your business that will be self-generating in terms of money coming in, right? So that in periods where you are not receiving funding or you're not receiving donations,
Yeah, you can
you do not
sustain.
you can sustain
Yes.
and you do not fall flat.
Yeah.
So now the question that you raised of that balance of
Yeah.
for-profit and non-for-profit, it is actually in the future of social impact. It is changing. It's becoming one thing. If you are going to have a social aspect of your business, in terms of compliance, yes, have your NGO, your PBO, and all of that, but show that it would be something that will last for the long run.
Yeah. Well, speaking of sustainability, a lot of people seem to assume that social enterprises are like charities in disguise. How do you, like it sort of steers people away from like even venturing in that direction. How do you practically make sure that you're sustainable and like scalable?
Okay.
Even for your one, for Access Network, like how did you go about thinking about that? Yeah, like obviously there's value that you offer, yes.
Okay. So I'm sort of just gonna take a back step to this
Yeah.
question because it reminded me about something quite important. I honestly believe that in the next 10 years or so, there is not going to be a bigger industry than
Than
the
this one.
industry of solving social
Oh.
issues in South Africa than this one. I just made it more dramatic. Than this one. I was like, wait, then this one? Nah, how about we add more spice to that? I believe that there's not going to be a bigger issue. And the reason why I say that, number one, in terms of stats, right? South Africa is the most unequal country in terms of distribution of income and wealth in the whole world, right? Unemployment is been rising. The economy has been rising under 5 or 6 or something
It's
like
not
that.
even a
Not even a
percentage, I think,
percentage,
eh?
right? So this already draws you some picture of how the future will look like. So in terms of how far industries go, this is it's already an industry, but there's going to be so much more space and a bigger need for more players, right? And then closer to me answering your question, the exciting thing about this industry is that you have startups with very innovative corporate ideas who are coming in, making it very clear of the social ill that they are focusing on. You know, you've got companies in security tech, making it possible for communities to, at the ease of their phones, alert each other when there is danger in the street. You
yes,
know,
yeah.
you've got guys who are doing deliveries with e-bikes,
Yeah.
Ekasi, where I'm not going to mention the brands. I almost have some brands had for years and still do the strict rule of when they enter Ikasi, you have to meet them at police station, you know, and they don't drive in
What?
further than a police station,
Okay.
right? And you know, these are obviously realities of Western Cape and other areas. You know, maybe they
know,
can
but
share in
no.
the comments how
Yeah.
far the deliveries go in their
Yeah.
local community. But you know, so this automatically now changes the conversation from how can you just contribute to solving a social ill to how can you solve it by innovating and coming up with a
Okay.
valid business idea, even fully corporate business idea, but your mission is rooted in this social
Yes.
issue. And maybe to now motivate, which I think I'm steering away from your question in terms of how I did it. You know, so where we are now in terms of consumers, right? We are being exposed to adverts, products every day, non-stop.
Like with everything, it's really. I'm so tired.
They
of
say
it.
Google doesn't
No,
listen.
we have
Okay, I see what you did.
YouTube
I see what you guys did there. Please, like, yeah, people shouldn't skip. Watch that ad because it's working here. But now, what that's created is that we are spoiled of choice as consumers,
Yes.
right?
100%.
And
Yeah.
now what consumers does, and remember we're talking social impact, but at Access we also business advisors.
Yes.
We, you know, in case people forgot, you know, we here to speak business. So what that has created, that spoil of choice. Yes, it's good. There's a good part, access and everything, but now people need a different motivation to relate to your product, service, company, organization, right? It needs to be something deeper than just their immediate want and need,
Yes.
right? If you are a startup that takes care of a social ill in South Africa, your current, your future customers will be able to relate to your business way more than just another business with a good product to offer. So that is what I'd like to share with entrepreneurs in all industries, because you know you get this mindset of like, yeah, no, it's more for like the newer, more radical. No. In all industries there's a part to play in alleviating. Even in your business plan, like it's a section that you know your purpose will link to your vision,
Yes.
will link to your mission,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And that is where now the mindset of social entrepreneurship is relevant to every and any type of business, because when you are communicating that purpose or that mission that you're driving, it will be based on the excellency that you'd like to achieve in terms of your products and your services and innovation. But for a lot of the products, a lot of products and services are centered around people. So it will automatically include this aspect of, you know, people being part of this vision that you have, or community, or the country. So that already is social entrepreneurship. So I would really love us to, you know, which we are, moving away from boxing it only to sort of the approach of the NGO, NPO space, and it being a and I mean, just to really sum up my point before I yap anymore, we already going to triple bottom line, people, profit,
Yes,
planet.
Yes.
That is where we're going globally. So already you can just imagine the space that, and the influence and the inspiration that social entrepreneurship will have for our
In the-
entrepreneurs.
Yeah. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Pretty well. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks.
There was an article that I was reading from the World Economic Forum
Okay.
on this quote. So I'm gonna it had to do with funding, or misconception zero. But it does say that social enterprises will face a funding gap of 1.3 trillion. What's the biggest misconception surrounding funding?
Okay, so the first one is the issue of sustainability or lack of sustainability and what it's created.
Okay.
You know, part of what we were mentioning earlier.
Yeah.
So there's, number one, a very strict focus now on supporting NPOs, NGOs, social enterprises that have a big sustainability factor in terms of
Yeah.
their plans, right? So there had to be a very quick shift globally when it comes to social enterprises to say that, okay, donors and funders are saying this is the direction that we are going towards now, right? And then when it comes to South Africa more specifically, to be maybe just a tiny bit controversial, I truly believe that there are no better people to take care of the problem than the people who are affected. Or at least they need to be part,
Yeah, they absolutely need to be.
Of the, yeah.
you know
of
what
the
I mean?
solution, yeah.
They have to be part of
Yeah.
the designing of those solutions by social enterprises. And in South Africa, that has not always been a thing that has been, on it, and you look at, and maybe I'm just speaking from a perspective of social enterprises that are in the development of entrepreneurs, space. And yeah, we need to see more of people in the community who are part of those decision-making processes, who are part of those engagements, not only from a perspective of a participant and understanding what it is but even in the designing, the core designing of the
Yes.
programs, having that involved. And then lastly, I think, let me speak to then the funders and the donors that are in South Africa, even there as well then. There's when it comes to the entrepreneurship development, there's sort of this very common outlook of, it being very hard for big social enterprises to reach the people who the projects are intended for, to reach the right people, the people who really need the help, to understand the different communities in South Africa and how things work. And I think just to add myself in as well, in the work that we do in terms of consulting with corporates, where and how they can invest, we do pride ourselves in how thorough we are in mapping out a township or whatever community before we even do projects there, right? Because a stakeholder in a township market is more broader than just what the textbooks tells us. For an example is that your biggest stakeholder in that community could be the mama that's been running a soup kitchen for years, out of her own pocket, or it could be the pastor or whoever. The stakeholders look way more different.
Yeah.
And these are the people that are able to really give you the on the ground feel of how to operate, how to approach the community, right? So, I mentioned different facets, a bit about funding, a bit about execution, a bit about why sustainability is an issue, but that is also big contributing factor to this when we speak about that funding gap, and that's a lot of money. Because look,
It's a huge amount.
you can imagine. I just forgot the percentages, but there are thresholds, and there's a percentage of your profits as a corporate, as a certain level corporate that you need to, and we can see more. We could do with more of that because, if we go to our communities, we don't always see where that money is going
It's
to.
going, yeah.
Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I like what you say because from my experience, what I've seen with funders is that even just the way they think about sustainability is one direction. You need to sell something.
Yes.
There has to be a way for you to sell something versus thinking about, okay, partnering with organizations that can give you funding long term is also another route to sustainability.
100%.
But it's the focus is so much on if you're not selling something, you're not sustainable. If you're not able to offer a service, you're not sustainable.
And can I add to that? There's also now the fact that, if we look at social entrepreneurship and we look at entrepreneurship in South Africa specifically, you would know that from this 30-something years, from '94, is it's not enough for you to. You can't treat the South African market like any other market. We need to be aware of where we are, in terms of entrepreneurship, where we are in terms of education, because that affects, where we are in terms of, the economy. That all affects the mindset of the
Yes,
entrepreneurs and
yeah.
how we should approach.
Yeah, I really agree with
You
that.
can't copy and paste. You
Yeah.
know, that's so true. You can't copy and paste.
Yeah. So speaking of which, if someone from the township comes to you, a young person from the township, and says, "I want to start something, but I don't have capital. What should I do?" What is the first thing that you'd tell them that they should do? What was the first thing that you'd advise them?
So, in our programs, right? Our courses, our boot camps, our master classes, the approach to entrepreneurship, at its core, entrepreneurship is problem solving, it is critical thinking, it's innovation, right? So those three things are something that we hone in, especially in the projects, in the programs that we do in high schools and universities, right? Because the reality in South Africa is that most kids that enter these institutions are, even in 2025, the first of their family to
Yes.
even get to go into a higher, institution. So for me to ensure that, our participants, our clients are ready for the future where maybe funding programs are not involved, we teach them problem solving at its basic. And that goes then back to what they call bootstrapping, right?
There we go. Yeah.
Bootstrapping, being resourceful.
Yeah, 100%,
Honestly, it's not a matter of fair or unfair, but if you can't try and figure out something to make out of nothing, then chances are, even when you do have
Yeah.
money, it will take you long to get the picture, or
Yeah.
you might not get the picture,
100%, yeah.
So we're very realistic when it comes to our programs, when it comes to our trainings, when it comes to our consulting, because we want to prepare the young people for the realities out there.
Yeah.
So if you can't be resourceful, if you can't bootstrap, and then a step back, if you can't problem solve and critically think, then then you're in trouble.
Then you can't be agile.
Yep.
You can't. You even your business has problems you need to solve internally anyway. So
100%.
yeah, the reason
Every
why,
day,
oh,
every day. You guys would know. You
oh
guys
my
would know.
God,
This-
I can't.
And I'm sure, like, the
can't.
solutions that you come up with, it's like people think that solutions or fixing solutions is complex. Also, you come up with this very complicated business strategy. Sometimes it's switching the camera
Very
batteries, but that is contributing to overall production and
Yes.
overall marketing.
Yes.
So that's what I would love for every young person listening or watching this podcast to really understand. Just hone in that skill every day of like problem solving.
I really
and
agree with
you'll
that.
be okay.
Because you'll never run out of problems.
You'll never run out of
Yeah.
problems. That's so true. You'll
Yeah.
never.
The best way to build sustainable businesses is to actually be solving problems in an innovative way.
100%.
And like Michelle said, you'll always encounter problems, and the more innovative your solution is, the better.
100%.
And if you're solving the right problems
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. The reason why I asked you that question as well is because most people use the lack of capital as like a prohibitor from them starting their business. That's something that everyone says, I want to start my business, but I don't have money. So then they don't even register
Yeah.
their business.
And just to add to that, it really does depend on my mood on the day. But sometimes I go Gordon Ramsay and I'm like, just go home and think about it. And
Okay.
that's like really being strict. Like,
Oh, wow.
maybe you need to think about the reason why you want to do this first, because there's a certain, we know there's a level of drive that you need to do this,
Yes.
right? We were not always on this level that we are, right? When I started entrepreneurship, it started off as just like this very deep interest that I had. I did, without realizing, I did start business when I was in high school. I sold a comic book, but that was for the wrong reasons because I wanted to impress a girl.
H.
And but how I put
biggest
it,
motivator.
the biggest motivators, heartbreaks and all that, but how I put it together, I didn't realize it was a
Okay.
business. We had, my friend used to draw.
Yeah.
This is in primary, sorry, not high
So
school.
you created the comic book.
Yes, we created and sold a comic book. And my friend used to draw. Literally every day in class he'd be drawing. We like grade 6, grade 7 almost. And I was going through a tough patch with this young lady that I had a crush on at the time. And I thought to myself, like, how could I get her attention? And I was like, how about you create a comic book and you the superhero in the comic and she is the lady that's being
Rescued,
saved. Yes.
yeah.
And guess what? I didn't even know this was PR. Bad PR, but okay. We used her name, her actual name, as the lady in the
Oh,
story.
so she got the story.
She got the story. Like, we didn't use my name. That was going to be too much.
Yeah.
But
That's
literally,
a nice friend, by the way.
you know what I mean? But how it did it was his mom had access to a printed work. We literally took white A4 paper. He did one very good copy, drew everything, including the texts, and we copied from that one copy that he drew on. So it was a one take. There was no digitization. It was literally a comic that was fully drawn. We used his mom's printer at the workplace, and then we did like a pre-order thing where I showed the cover and the last page, which essentially had the girl being saved and her name. And
Do you still have this?
I didn't take, that's a problem. I didn't take it as doing business. I just
You had a
took it as
different mission, it's fine.
do you understand? So that I tell people that story to show them that this is something that we have in us, even as a firstborn, when we were talking earlier on, you being entrusted by your parents to take care of the siblings, to come up with solutions when people are fighting. These are things as people of color we are exposed to. So my job is to then help bring out that potential in you. And then when it comes specifically to the capital conversation, every person needs to be dedicated to trying to figure out how they can substitute aspects that need money
Yeah.
in their idea, how they can substitute it with partnerships,
Yes.
mentorship,
Free stuff
free
online.
stuff. That
Yes.
is the art.
Yeah.
Exchange of services. That is the art of entrepreneurship.
That's true. Solve those problems.
That is
Yeah.
the art of
Others,
entrepreneurship.
also to a funder, it's not attractive if you're not making money, you don't have a product, and also you don't have a plan of on how
Yes.
you're going to. They're just gonna be like, talk to me when you sort it out.
When you're ready,
Yeah.
and how about you start with your, it's beautiful that you have a plan A idea, but start with a plan B idea. Look at the skill sets that you have, look at the resources that you have around you, and start from there.
You're right.
Yeah. The advice that we gave in our previous episode, I don't think it's the last one, but at some point we're like, just stop.
Just start.
Just start.
Just start.
Just start.
You'll figure it out as you go.
100%. 100%.
So earlier you were speaking about people are going to need to find ways to make people connect with their businesses over and above the fact that they're offering an excellent product, right? One way to do that, or the only way, is storytelling. And so I wanted to ask, what part has storytelling played for you? And also, but more importantly, what does it play for social impact enterprises, or rather social enterprises? Yeah. How important is that for those types of businesses? Yeah.
So when it comes to storytelling, it is very important. It gives the business an identity and a personality. Your business without a story, is just this entity that is producing a service or product, which could be excellent or whatever. But entrepreneurs do forget that at the end of the day, your customers are people.
Yes.
The individuals that you're doing this for are human beings.
Yes.
And as human beings, as part of our nature, we connect on a more deeper level
Yeah.
than just what is presented to us, right? And we spoke about also consumers having, you know, so much options nowadays. So what is going to make you stand out from another brand is how I, as a potential customer, can relate to the identity, personality
Yeah.
of your brand or your entity.
Yeah.
That's true, because it also makes its way to like the biggest corporations. You talk about Microsoft,
Yes.
with the quoting Bill Gates' story,
100%.
his come up story. It's the same for Jeff Bezos as well.
Yeah.
So it literally is something you can't separate from business.
Yeah.
100%. And I'd like to add to what you're saying. I mean, as Africans, we're natural storytellers.
Yes.
You know, and I think this is something that we are going to do very well.
Yeah.
I think we just need to hone in it.
And we've got interesting stories.
we've got
That's the thing,
interesting
very
stories,
interesting
you know.
stories. That's why we excel so much at social impact stuff. It's because our stories are that
It's
interesting.
in us.
Yes.
Got a lot of social to impact as well.
Yes.
Got a lot of social to impact.
Hey, it's a lot.
Before you
It's
go,
a
I
lot.
wanted to, because even nowadays investment is now based on vibes and stories. Like they need to connect with you as
Yep.
the person that they're funding. So you need to come with a
Yep.
story. You can't just come with numbers, or in fact, people usually come with my idea is so good. But now it's like, yeah, your idea is good, but what's the story behind? Because I've seen so many good ideas. You're not the only one. Yeah.
So what's
And
next?
sorry, just to answer to that, just to show you how important that is right now in the time that we're in. Even globally, we're seeing a big trend where it's not just investing in your business, but it's investing in the entrepreneur as well.
Yes,
You know,
yeah.
that is happening right now as we speak. So
Yeah.
South African entrepreneurs, I'd really push them to take
Yeah.
advantage of that.
Yeah, because that's what makes you different from anything else that they're going to
100%.
invest in. Yes. What I'm interested with you and your business is, because it's impact based, does it ever like make the stakes higher for you? And have there been days where you've just felt like down, or like it feels like a lot doing what you're doing?
Yes, most definitely. I think when it comes to social impact, the benefits of the rewards are a bit more long term. And then, unlike you know, very commercial business, you know, that can be, you know, heavily cash flow and at times, you know, with social impact, you are only as good as the last project you've delivered, the last program that you've designed, and the success of that product is not once off, you know. And more than anything, you're dealing with people. You know, dealing with people is a very complex
Yeah,
task.
sure.
You know, and I've learned, you know,
Yeah.
you guys would know, I've learned to really embrace that and make it part of my life journey to figure this out. You know, and I had to, because people are not
You
going to
won't
stop being
survive.
complex.
Yeah, yeah.
People are not going to stop being
Yeah.
complex.
I don't know how many times I've told Atu this. Like, I must make peace with it.
Yeah, you have to, and
Yeah.
you know, I'm also a life coach, performance
Okay,
coach,
I see.
so I do obsess as well about trying to figure out the human mind, how to motivate it, how to steer it towards the right direction. And even in those disciplines, it's very clear that there's no one book to give you a formula. So I've made peace with the
With it.
fact that, yeah, it's a lifelong journey, and entrepreneurs need to dedicate themselves to that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you just.
But it's also nice that you have like intangible motivators. Like most businesses will be like, yeah, we need to make money, and that's it.
100%.
When you are like in social entrepreneurship, then it's like the charitable aspect of it that is a motivator. It's your passion for people. It's your passion for fixing societal issues that can drive you, and that like can come secondary. I mean, money can come secondary to that.
To that.
A lot of the time.
That's usually exactly how it
And that's the beauty of it.
A lot of
That's
the
what I'm
time.
getting at. It's
Yeah,
like,
100%.
if it's not like, hey, we've got this much in our bank account, and it's we're impacting this many people, we are participating in all of these.
100%.
Yeah, these different elements. So, yeah, can you feel So what's next? What's next? What do you consider success?
Okay.
Both you and
both you and your company.
yeah.
Okay. So right now, in terms of our footprint, in terms of the communities that we've worked in over over 7 towns in the Western Cape. We've worked
Sure.
in the Cape Winelands, Boland, and now going into the Overberg region. And what motivated this was that we saw that there's a very big interest and activity, not enough, but there is in the inner cities of the Western Cape,
Okay.
and sort of some of the towns are being neglected. So we are heavily focusing on the Boland region, on the Overberg region in terms of Western Cape. And then from next year, we will be able to expand across
Nice.
South Africa. But in terms of in the next 5 years, would really like to be one of the key players in terms of economic development in Africa as a large. And that is the commitment I made when I put Africa in the name, Access Network Africa, was to remind me that
That's
when I had
nice.
started this vision, it was about impacting economic development and innovation in Africa as a whole. And I think South Africa is a very, very interesting point to start off with. South Africa is very diverse. The issues that we're dealing with are, at the level that it's at. So, I think I'll be coming in with very relevant knowledge into the space of Africa as a whole. And like I said before, my dream is for no African child to feel like it wouldn't be possible for them to start a business or to be an innovator, because of their surroundings. Yeah.
Love that. Love that. Where can people find you?
Okay, so people can go to my website. Now I'm thinking, where is that? So you can find us on www.accessnetworkafrica.com. You can follow our LinkedIn page, Access Network Africa. We Access Network Africa on Instagram as well as Facebook. And then you can also drop me a follow if you'd like to collaborate, engage. Reach out to me on LinkedIn, Arthur Mexico, and Arthur Mexico on social media as well.